Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Gurudev ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki Jai. Devote words synonyms, translations and purport by Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Chandra Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. So Hare Krishna, your devotees, welcome everyone. So if you can please start your realization and others can join in afterwards. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, Amrish Prabhuji. Thank you, Purnamada Devi Dashi Mataji. Thank you, Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhu, for guiding, training, and giving us an opportunity to give our realization. We are in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, verse 3 and 4. Devotional service. Ye tam aksharam anirdesham avyaktam paryupasate sarvatra gam achintyam cha kutastham achalam dhruvam sam niyamendriyagram sarvatra samabuddhai te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhutahite rata ye tvaksharam anirdesham vyaktam paryupasate sarvatra gamachintam cha kutastham achalam dhruvam sanniyamendriya gram sarvatra samabuddhaya te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhutahite rataha ye to aksharam nirdesham vyaktam paryupasate sarvatra gamachintam cha kutastham achalam dhruvam sanniyam endriyam gramam sarvatra sambuddhaya buddhaya te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhutahite rataha. Yeah, those two, but aksharam, which is beyond the perception of the senses. Anirdesham, indefinite. Avyaktam, unmanifested. Paryupasate, completely engages. Sarvatragam, all pervading. Achintam, inconceivable. Cha, also. Kutastham, in the center. Achalam, immovable. Dhruvam, fixed. Sanniyam, controlling. Indriya grammam, all the senses. Sarvatra, everywhere. Samabuddhaha, equally disposed. They. Prapnuvanti, achieve. Mama, unto me. Eva, certainly. Sarvabhutahite, all living entities. All living entities' welfare. Rataha, engaged. Those, but which is beyond the perception of the senses, indefinite, unmanifested, completely engages, all pervading, inconceivable, also in the center, immovable, fixed, controlling all the senses, everywhere, equally disposed. They achieve unto me, certainly, all living entities, welfare engaged. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, fixed, and immovable, the personal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. Purport: those who do not directly worship the Supreme Godhead, Krishna, but who attempts to achieve the same goal by an indirect process also ultimately achieve the supreme goal, Sri Krishna, as is stated. After many births, the man of wisdom seeks refuge in me, knowing Vasudeva is all. When a person comes to full knowledge after many births, he surrenders unto the Lord Krishna. If one approaches the Godhead by the method mentioned in this verse, he has to control the senses, render service to everyone, and engage in the welfare of all beings. It is inferred that one has to approach Lord Krishna, otherwise, there is no perfect realization. Often, there is much penance involved before one fully surrenders unto him. In order to perceive the super soul within the individual soul, one has to cease the sensual activities of seeing, hearing, tasting, working, etc. Then one comes to understand that the Supreme Soul is present everywhere. Realizing this, one envies no living entity. He sees no difference between man and animal because he sees soul only, not the outer covering. But for common man, this method of impersonal realization is very difficult. So my realization from these two verses is here in Lord Krishna talks about the two types of worshippers. One is personal form, those who worshipping the personal form of Lord Krishna with loving and with sincere heart, and the other one, those who worship the impersonal aspect of God, that is formless, and Srila Prabhupada says that which is less common and less accessible. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining here that the worshipping God as a person is much easier and more effective for most of the people. And when we worship Krishna in his personal form, we can develop a relationship with him with love. We have to serve with love and understand him that he is real and a personal. So there are the here. I mean, it's mentioned here the qualities of the devotees who can see the God. The qualities like Krishna. I mean, see that the true devotee who worship him personal form, we can see the Krishna's qualities of the true devotees who worship him his personal form, and also those who are freedom from the pride. The devotee should be humble and not think about themselves or not thinking about they are better than others. Also, one should have not have feeling of jealousy or ill will towards anyone. The devotee actually must be free from selfish desire and work only for the welfare of others. And the non-violence, Philippa says that devotee should never harm others, whether through words, action, or thoughts. So, Srila Prabhupada explains here that to develop these qualities of a devotee must practice a pure devotion, bhakti, which includes the regulatory principles, chanting the holy name of Krishna, and living life. And one should have the life centered on spiritual values. Those who actually practice devotion with these qualities, they are the best devotees. That's what Srila Prabhupada says. And Srila Prabhupada also says that the true devotees, actually, they are peaceful, they are compassionate, and they want to develop a well-being of all living beings their hearts are pure, and they always free from anger, envy, and pride. So one has to cultivate the compassion and kindness towards all living beings, because it is a natural result of genuine devotional service to Lord Krishna. When you are continuous in devotional service of Lord Krishna, then those qualities will automatically develop by seriously chanting. So real devotee of Krishna sees everyone with love and does not have any desire to even harm anyone. Uh, while impersonal worship, those who do the formless Brahman is mentioned in the scripture, Srila Prabhupada says that path is more difficult and impersonal for most people. Actually, it lacks the emotional connection and personal relationship that can be developed when we worship the God in personal form as Krishna. So worshipping the personal form of Lord actually creates an environment where we can express our love, emotion, and gratitude towards God. So the what I understand, particularly takeaway point for me is that I must worship the personal form of Lord with humility, love, and devotion, and which is Srila Prabhupada, many times Srila Prabhupada says that this is very powerful and accessible path for my spiritual growth. Everybody's or anybody's spiritual growth, those who are sincerely worshipping Lord Krishna with love and humility. Also, I have to develop the qualities like mentioned here, that humility, non-enviness, selflessness, and of course non-violence as well. Which, if I try to follow these qualities, then the heart will purify and the concentration will be always on the personal form of Lord. And also, my goal should be always peaceful and work. Even if you don't do it directly, but I'll at least never think bad about the others or try to work on the welfare of the others. So I have to create a very lovingly relationship with God, which will help me in progress quickly towards my spiritual perfection. So wise Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that truly wise person does not actually differentiate between man and animal, because he understands that the soul is present everywhere and within both. So the body may be different, but the soul is the same, which also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita chapter 5 verse 18. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavi hastini shruni chaiva shopake cha pandita samadarshinaha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see the equal vision, a learned and gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and the dog eater outcast. So here Srila Prabhupada says that the devotee treat everyone, or even living beings or anyone, as a friend, and yet they maintain themselves as Paramatma, regardless of circumstances. And Srila Prabhupada, in one of the lecture which is related to this, is very nicely given an example that a person may wear today white shirt, or tomorrow he might wear the another black color, but similarly the soul may take a human body in one life and another body in another, but the soul itself does not change. So we have to see everyone as equal. And the soul may be different types of bodies, but the soul itself is eternal. So even also another example Srila Prabhupada gives very nicely, that if you are driving a luxury car or simple scooter or cycle or motorcycle, but similarly the soul is even the person who is driving, but we may be driving the different cars or different cycle or motorcycle, but the soul is human body, and it remains the same, being the spiritually being. So one should not think that, like, especially others, like, they are different. We are all part and parcel of the God, and we must think that the Krishna is our father for all living beings, whether humans, animals, birds, or insect. So and then father does not see the children differently just because they are wearing the different clothes. So we have to cultivate that knowledge, what we are getting knowledge through Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada's books, that we must treat everyone as same. So also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's another example of Lord Chaitanya, that when Lord Chaitanya was walking through the Jharkhand forest, instead of getting worried or fearing about the animals, actually he made them chant the holy name and dance in ecstasy, because he saw them as a spiritual soul, not like just as animals. So one should not discriminate between the human based race or caste or wealth, and must respect all being, because they are all the Krishna children. So we have to imbibe that knowledge and always think about the Lord 24/7 and chant Krishna's name. That's my realization. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sopan Prabhu. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhu, His Grace Her Grace Punjapanand Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Prabhu for tolerating me. I would like to share my realization on this verse based on what Krishna is telling in the beginning of this chapter, and hopefully I make sense. Yete aksharamanirdesham avyaktam parupasate sarvatra tam achintyam cha kutastham achalam dhruvam sanniyame gramam sarvatra buddhayaha te pranuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hite rataha. For those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed, and immovable, the impersonal conception of absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. So Krishna is again giving a concept here about impersonalists and how they think and what they do, and about the impersonal Brahman. So the point I have picked here is the impersonal conception of the absolute truth. And these impersonalists, they do what they realize about the impersonal, about the absolute truth. Our bhakti is our understanding of absolute truth. Similarly with us, what we do is our understanding of the absolute truth. Bhagavatam is absolute truth, and it's our realization, and it's for our realizing absolute truth. By realizing absolute truth, we can realize Krishna. Like impersonalists realizing here what they should be doing. Now, it's all about absolute truth, because how we realize is in the personal form, in the impersonal form. And entire Bhagavatam talks about this at various places. and it's very seriously talking about it. So I'll start with the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that how this absolute truth is connecting everything. That famous verse, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 7. Matta parantaram nanya kinchit asti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam prutam sutre mani gana eva. So, O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So Krishna is talking about himself, that what is his position. And same thing is in Bhagavatam, seed verses in everywhere. So absolute truth is connecting everyone, and that's in this verse which we are studying today, is that's how impersonalists relate to this and what they do. And again, Prabhupada writes very nicely about this absolute truth concept, which I would like to share. There is a common controversy over whether the supreme absolute truth is personal or impersonal. Correct? That's what we're studying. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the absolute truth is personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and this is confirmed in every step. In this verse in particular, it is stressed that the absolute truth is a person, that the personality of Godhead is the supreme absolute truth, is also a affirmation of the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidanand Vigraha. That is the supreme absolute truth. Personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna, whose primeval Lord, the reservoir of all pleasure, Govinda, and the eternal form, the complete bliss and knowledge. So this is something which is very common. And then Prabhupada keeps writing about this, and that what is the position of absolute truth and how absolute truth is connected to entire creation of Krishna. And same concept Lord Kapil is touching in Bhagavatam in the beginning of chapter 26, which is on the fundamental principle of material nature. So I could never understand that how this material things can be absolute truth, and that's what I realized. This verse is like this: Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Atha Te Samapravakshami Tattvanam Lakshanam Prithak Yad Viditva Vimucheta Purusha Prakrita Gunahe. So in this translation by Srila Prabhupada, the personality of Godhead Kapila continued, my dear mother, now I shall describe unto you the different categories of absolute truth. So even absolute truth is not only personal and impersonal, it has various lot of categories also. And further he says, knowing which any persons can be released from the influence of the modes of material nature. So understanding absolute truth in its entirety will take us away from material nature. I'm not talking anything new, it's all we know, but I'm looking from the angle of absolute truth. And entire Sankhya philosophy is about this, which is absolute truth, depending upon the personal relation, depending upon who is looking at what. But if we can relate it to Krishna, then it is absolute truth. Then we know that this is how it is. And this is all in the Prabhupada writes on like this: as stated in Bhagavad Gita, one can understand the supreme personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, only through devotional service. Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati. As stated in the Bhagavatam, the object of devotional service is Mam, Krishna. And as explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, to understand Krishna means to understand Krishna in his personal form with his internal energy, his external energy, his expansion, and his incarnation, which covers everything. There are many diverse departments of knowledge in understanding Krishna. Sankhya philosophy is especially meant for persons who are conditioned by this material world. So depending upon our situation, we can understand, and I think we're all spending our time to understand the absolute truth. We're all looking for it, as Bhagavatam said. We are searching for absolute truth in what we do and whatever we do, whatever we act and whatever we try to do is all to understand this absolute truth. And it's very interesting that even in Canto 7, where absolute truth is very interesting, Narad Muni is telling to Yudhishthira Maharaj after prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, where it is talking about Prahlad Maharaj, and it's very interesting, and probably that's why Bhagavatam should not be read by everyone. So this verse is very interesting. I could try to read it. Na yasya shakshadhava padam jadibi rupam dhyavastu yo pava rinatam maunena bhaktyo pashamena pujitaha prasidatam ishasa satvatam patihi. Satvatam pati is the great devotees. The translation like this, very interesting translation and very small purport. But probably somebody who understands absolute truth can only understand this kind of philosophy or teachings of Bhagavatam. Here, Narad Muni is saying, exalted persons like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma could not properly describe the truth of the absolute, truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So this is the position. May the Lord, who is always worshipped as the protector of all devotees by great saints who observe vows of silence, meditation, devotion, service, and renunciation, be pleased with us. So while saying sentence like this, Narad Muni is also clarifying that, yeah, it should not be offensive. That's what I understand. So even exalted persons like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma could not properly describe the truth of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So imagine the situation of ordinary devotees, fallen devotees like me. So that's very interesting that how we understand. Okay, we understand, we read, we jump from here to there. I'm talking about myself, and we think that I understand everything. But as we dive deeper in subject matter, then we understand that how much we understand, how superficial our understanding is. And that's where Bhagavatam, I keep realizing that why Maharaj wanted me to only study Gita and Bhagavatam. Don't worry about anything else. And it's so much nectar here that probably life is too short to read and understand this. And I'll quickly read the purport before I complete my relation. Prabhupada says, the absolute truth is sought by different person in different ways, yet he remains inconceivable. So that's the constitutional position of absolute truth. So what to talk about impulse list? Nonetheless, devotees like Pandavas, the Gopis, the cowherd boys, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and all inhabitants of Vrindavan do not need to practice conventional process of meditation to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for he remains with them through thick and thin. So that the Prabhupada very clearly says, categorizes this, so that people don't get confused. And therefore, further he writes, therefore a saint like Narad, understanding the difference between transcendentalists and pure devotees, always prays that the Lord will be pleased with him. So that's what I was meditating on, and I thought I'll probably try to put it in a way I might not have. I'm sure I've not been able to talk about absolute truth, but that's my relation, Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhuji, Her Grace Pragya Devi Dasi Mataji and His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhuji for giving us this platform to share our realizations and learning with all the beautiful devotees' experiences and realizations. And thank you, Supan Prabhuji and Avinash Krishna Prabhuji, for your nice realizations. So we are reading Bhagavad Gita chapter 12, verses 3 and 4 today. Ye tva aksharam anirdeshyam vyaktam paryupasati sarvatra gam achintyam cha kutastham achalam dhruvam sanniyamendriyagramam sarvatra samabuddhayah te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hite ratah. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. So as we have seen in the previous verse that Krishna has explained about those who worship his personal form, and now in this verse he is mentioning about those impersonalists or Gyan yogis who meditate upon his impersonal form. As Srila Prabhupada has given in his purport, that impersonalists also achieve the same goal, but by the indirect process. Personalists and impersonalists, they have the same goal to reach to Krishna, but only the method is different. Bhakti yogis or personal, the people who, the personalists, they do the direct service, and the bhakti yoga is very easy and very natural for the common people, as Krishna takes the as we do the Archa Vigraha, and which is formed by wooden or stone or any other material, and there's a form of Krishna, and then it's easier when we see a form to worship that form. Then slowly a bhakta develops loving devotional service towards the deities, because Srila Prabhupada says that is not the idol, it's the Archa Vigraha, where there is Pran Pratishtha is done, and then that is the devotional service Bhakti Yogi does. And loving devotional service is there, it's very accessible, and we can express our love to Krishna, and then all the emotions and everything, which I think Supan Prabhu has very nicely explained in his realization. But if we see the impersonal service to Krishna, or impersonal form of absolute truth, those people who are doing that, the Gyan Yogis, it's very indirect and very troublesome and difficult. it's theoretically we can see, we can understand that we are not this body, we are the soul, but to do service to impersonal is very difficult because you don't know what to do. That lacks emotional connection as well, as Sopan Prabhu has explained. Then also what I understood that there is, Srila Prabhupada says that in order to perceive the super soul within the individual soul, one has to cease the sensual activities of seeing, hearing, tasting, working, etc. So for a common person, it's really difficult to seize everything, all the sensual activities. If one is not working, or one is not eating, or hearing, or seeing, then it's very difficult to realize that how to perceive God. So when a bhakti yogi is doing the service to Krishna, he is enjoying all, he is using all his senses in service of Krishna. Rishikesh, sorry, I forgot the Sarvopadi Vinubhuktam Taparatte Nirmanam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. So serving the master of senses by the senses. So all the senses are engaged in the service of Krishna. And then also there is no need to cease the sensual activities. We can, while working, while tasting, while cooking for Krishna, while hearing Krishna Katha, while seeing deities of Krishna, or doing all the material activities, we can spiritualize our bhakti. And that is the goal which a personalist or bhakti yogi wants to achieve. Then from the day first, when we see Krishna's deity, we hear about Krishna, we taste the prasadam, we work for Krishna, then there's a love develops there. And then we understand that he is the supreme God and present everywhere. He is the Lord of this all material and spiritual worlds. And above him, no one is there. So it's easy to realize, it's easy to see, it's easy to serve his devotees. And as one grows on the path of devotional service, then all other good qualities automatically comes in him, that there is no envy, there is he sees no difference between man and animal, and he sees the soul only. So this is the very easy path, and Srila Prabhupada has given us the simple and easy method as well, how we can just imbibe in our lives and achieve the bhakti yoga. So this is my realization for this verse. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, His Grace Santosh Prabhuji, for this open Namaste, and His Grace Krishna Prabhu for training us and giving us opportunity to study and share our realization. And thank you, Sopan Prabhuji, Avinash, for a very nice realization in this course. So, Eva Aksharam Anirdesha Avestam Paryupasate Sarvatra Sarvatra gam achintam cha Kutastam achalam dhruvam Sanniyam Sanniyam Indriya Ramam Sarvatra Sama Buddhaya Te Prapa Nuvanti Mamayeva Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha Jagadguru Prabhupada Pujya. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth. By controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engage in the welfare of all, at last achieving. So, as we are studying chapter 12, Krishna answering to Arjuna's question in the previous verse, he confirmed that one who concentrate on his personal form, the original Sham Sundar form, and render the loving devotional service, is to be considered most perfect by him. And here he is actually saying that one who is actually engaged in the worship of the impersonal conception of absolute truth, that's Brahman. Krishna is saying, so we are basically talking about the Mayavadi, that they can also, at last, they can achieve Krishna. So here it is actually what is described here is what the impersonalism is and what they need to do to achieve the same thing. So I was meditating on this point that even following this impersonal path, they can still attain to the Krishna, at last. The processes may be much laborious, a lot of tapasya, a lot of austerities, and very difficult one, but at last they can achieve it. So that is the conclusion here. So in the previous verse, so actually it's a bhakti yoga process. And here is the impersonalist path. You can attain to the Krishna. But the actually wording here is actually of all, at last they achieve. So as devotees also share the realization that this process is not direct and it's not very easy. As there's artificial control of the senses and the welfare activities and so on. So as we know, that actually Krishna can be realized, three levels: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. So here, actually, the Mayavadis, they want to actually merge into the Brahman. So again, when they say at last achieve me, so probably some may be actually depending on what they want to achieve. They may want to achieve to the stage of the Brahman, or some may want to actually progress further, get to the Paramatma stage, following the process, or if they fortunately get in the association of a pure devotee, they can further progress to realize the actually Bhagwan. So I actually remember Srila Prabhupada was actually explaining this point, and he referred to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 9. Bahunam jannamante jnanvan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti saha mahatma sudurlabha. So actually means this is a very famous verse, and we know the translation as well, that one has to go through millions and millions of births to get to the stage where they can attain the full knowledge, and they can actually realize the Vasudeva is all in all, and then they surrender. So such a soul is very rare, and they're called Mahatmas. So Srila Prabhupada was actually trying to explain that the living entities, they may be at different levels. Even the atheists, even they follow a process of the atheism, in the end, as we know, they will end up frustrated and unhappy. One who follows the karmic process also, is very much on the material platform. Still, they can find themselves frustrated. And here, the actually one who want to merge into the Brahman. So this impersonal path. So I remember the discussion Amrish mentioned that there are two features of the absolute truth. Sat and Chit is realized. The eternity is realized, and knowledge is also realized. But the bliss part is missing. So after actually to get to the stage, as we say, bhaunam jannamante, one has to go through many, probably millions of births. That they probably, if they get to the stage where they can have a full knowledge, then they can realize that actually Krishna is all in all, the cause of all causes. And that soul can actually surrender. But Krishna says that such a soul is very rare. So those who follow this path and want to actually attain to Krishna, the process is very, very difficult. And it's not possible for most of the people who are following. They can actually get to the stage. It's very rare. This is very, very rare. Only few living entities might be able to do this. And if they also, if they progress further, the Brahman state. So process is very difficult, and is Krishna actually describing here that they have to control the senses. The sense control is actually mentioned, as devotees also discussed that actually they have to control, hearing, what they see, what they taste. So all the sensual activities, they have to artificially control. So the artificial control, as Srila Prabhupada has many times he actually mentioned, is in the end, most of the time they will fail. So rather than artificially controlling the senses, the best thing is to actually change their engagement, because senses are there and we have to give some enjoyment to the senses. So just restricting them in an artificial way is not going to work. And it's especially it's going to be very, very difficult in Kali Yuga. And Srila Prabhupada says, unless and until you have the higher taste, if you give the higher taste to your senses, they're not going to actually give up the lower taste. So, as one of the definition of bhakti, Saraswati Mataji mentioned, Sarvopadir vinirmuktam tatparatena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So Srila Prabhupada said that by engaging senses in Krishna's company, they will get the enjoyment of it. Senses will also be purified. So they will become a transcendental state. By being engaged in service of the Krishna. So this one, the patriotic mind is here. We don't have to actually control everything, all our senses from actually enjoying them. You cannot really stop seeing, cannot stop tasting, you cannot smell. It's very difficult to actually stop all these things. And as Srila Prabhupada says that we cannot be inactive, we have to be always, because nature of a spirit soul is active. So by being active, maybe sitting at one place and meditating, or actually keeping quiet, having a maun vrat and so on, is very difficult and is bound to fail. So as if you behave according to nature, that we are very active, then we actively engage in the service of the Krishna. So we can perform many services. So we know all these points. But the point is that by following this process, actually, the sense control is already achieved. And our senses also become purified. So we can actually able to render the pure devotional service once we actually get to the Brahma Bhuta stage. So some of the qualities at the Brahma Bhuta stage, when one achieve it, so being equally disposed to everyone. So the same things are mentioned here, that even you're following the impersonal path, they have to be also equally disposed towards all the living entities. They have to see them on equal platform. And these are the similar qualities, as we study the nectar of instruction. These are the qualities of the Paramhamsa, Uttamadhikari. And also, they're also not attached to any material things, They do not lament if they lose anything, or they do not become overly enjoyed when they gain something. the golden sword are equal to them, all these things. So similar things, are mentioned here. But the impersonal path is very daunting, is very difficult, as we know. And to get to the stage of actually understanding or get to the stage of the full knowledge, then once actually the living entity attain the full knowledge, then he will understand actually, that Krishna is the cause of all causes. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Then he's ready to surrender. So one has to go through this many births to get to the stage. So I was actually thinking about that point. But actually on the Bhakti Yoga process, actually, this is given to us, very easily. So the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra and actually the devotional service engagement in this services, it starts with that. So one who's following this path. So we may not understand the importance of this process given by Srila Prabhupada, because if we are not taught this process, then, if we have to find our own path, and actually how it is mentioned here, Bahunam Jannamante. So you have to go through all this, process of being atheist, being karmi, being jnani, being mayavadi, and then you'll get to the stage of full knowledge. Then you're going to realize the Bhakti Yoga process is the top one. So this is very hectic. So Father, which is the highest process, very easily to all of us. So this is actually these are the points I realized. So yes, actually, one can also achieve Krishna by following the impersonal path, but actually it's very rare, and even actually they get to the stage of Brahman, they still has to progress further. Otherwise, they again fall down to the material platform, because as per our nature, we'll be always looking for the bliss. And if we do not get that association, that reciprocation, they will be bound to look for that, and that's how we fall down. So these are the points I realized, devotee. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Is Namrata Mataji not doing realizations?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Sorry, I forgot to mention on the group as I was running late. I'm not prepared for today's class. So apologies for me. Hare Krishna.
Okay, then it's not in that's half apology. Second part is what Shanji Prabhu has written before next Wednesday. You listen to this class and you can make out points of what others have said, Yeah, and share it either verbally or whatever you can. Leader Sangha, we should do this much. Okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. I'll do. Thank you.
That's fine. Hare Krishna. No problem. Okay, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for your nice realizations. We've got very few, couple of minutes only now, so I won't take long. Actually, this particular verse, these two verses, they are foundation verses of bhakti and differentiation of bhakti with impersonalism. Okay, so the philosophical part, all of you have said from different angles, which is very nice. The foundation is impersonalism, where a person who is accepting Krishna without form has to be a servant of everybody. This verse is saying that. Krishna is saying this in this verse. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, fixed, and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone. Here it is. Such persons engage in the welfare of all. Here it is. At last achieve me. So, this is what we understand with personalism and impersonalism, where very basic, when all of us became Krishna conscious. In our program, you would have heard us saying what Prabhupada would say, that without Krishna, there are all zeros. It's got no meaning. The moment you put one before all zeros, there is a meaning. There's some value to this. Otherwise, all have got no value. Zeros have got no value. So this is the meaning of it. The impersonalist worshippers, they have to do this. They have to take care of all living beings, satisfy all living beings surrounding them. They have to be servant of everybody. Because this is how they see as Paramatma in all living beings. Service is different with personalist and impersonalist. So as we study deep in the subject, when we invest our time in really deep studies, and we understand the different correlation of different verses, which is spoken by Krishna, by Krishna and his different incarnations, including Lord Chaitanya, will understand these things. That is why Prabhupada says this point many times. At the beginning level, we say this, that you are serving everybody, but these have got no value. The moment you put one Krishna, there is value. This is the meaning of it. Now, a devotee also serves everybody, although he is not obliged to serve everybody. There is a difference. Krishna is telling here for impersonalists, okay, and being equally disposed to everyone. Such person engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. So what is the meaning of this? It means this, that they're obliged to do this. And at last they'll achieve Krishna. How? Not in this birth. I could see some of you have this misunderstanding. It's not in this birth. They may go back to impersonal form. They may go to Brahman realization. They'll fall down. They'll again go back to Brahman realization after many, many births. Again they'll fall down. Again they'll go. And at last they realize the frustration part of it. So our Vedic way of life, the Vedic scriptures, Vedic philosophy talks about lifetimes. It does not talk about life. Every other religion, because it doesn't have the depth, they talk about this lifetime, only one lifetime. And our modern education system teaches us about this lifetime only, or maybe some other lifetimes, or many lifetimes. But we don't understand the many lifetimes. Here it means that after many, many life, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, After many, many lives, they will achieve impersonal Brahma realization. And they'll fall down again after many, so many millions of years staying in that impersonal form, with Brahma Jyoti. Fall down again they will start. Again they'll fall, again they'll start. But each of this stage, because of the quest, they reduce the number of years. And they'll come to the stage of personalism. So we are all very fortunate. But the problem is this, that we should be able to value this personal form. Now, this is where one requires a little satisfied thinking that a person sitting in a hut somewhere remotely, chanting Krishna's name, has got the capacity to serve all humanity. That person sitting in a hut somewhere, reading Bhagavad Gita or meditating upon the Bhagavad Gita very peacefully, very purely, or Srimad Bhagavatam, or Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, once he does that, he has the potency of satisfying all around him, which includes the whole world. There is a reason why it is said that once you serve Krishna, you serve everybody, satisfy everybody. This is the meaning of it. So he doesn't have to endeavor separately. We may also do prasad distribution, but it is our service to Krishna that we are doing. Impersonally starts hospitals. They do a lot of things. That is the reason why Srila Prabhupada are against doing philanthropic activities. Philanthropic activities is impersonalism. This is the reason why. Paranti, the Bhagavatam, this verse is there, that they go to Brahman, but after that they fall down again. And they will start again to do all various kinds of philanthropic activities. So this verse is a foundation verse. So we have to be very mindful about what Krishna is saying, what Prabhupada are explaining. And with all these different correlations that we can understand with our own study, with a deep study, will help us. So I have a wish, because I've seen it. Serving transcendence is not easy at all. We may think serving transcendence is very easy. You see somebody transcendence, and then you will be very jumping up and down to do service. It is impossible to understand who is in transcendence. It's impossible to identify transcendence. Serving transcendence is by walking in fire. Only then you'll be able to serve transcendence. Because transcendence is anti-material activity. And if we are in touch with transcendence, through whoever is in transcendence, then the anti-material activity is walking in fire, because all material activities, all material things are taking people for granted, and we have to walk opposite to that. So you are living in fire, walking in fire constantly when you are with transcendence. So that is the reason why only pure devotional service has to be performed. And I would want that all the preachers in Hare Krishna WECAN, at least our programs, we genuinely accept, first appreciate and then accept this point. The leader with sitting in one place chants for everybody and everybody is satisfied. When we feel that there is some amount of progress in what activities that we are doing, devotional activities, in our personal, in our preaching, there's someone else's bhakti helping us. And this is the mercy of Guru Maharaj. And would want that at certain stage, all the leaders cultivate. It's a cultivation thing. This particular aspect of satisfying Krishna with personal sadhana, either worship of Krishna and the deity form, or through Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, chanting, or all the prakriyas that person does, the kriyas that the person does, devotee does, it makes sure that everybody is satisfied. And there's a progress going on. Whether they understand this or not, it is irrespective, because he is in bliss. When we are in bliss, these things don't affect us. And there is a reason why, this final point, we say that the Sapta Rishis, they have the 7 stars, where those rishis, they also are alive with each Manu. They change with each Manu. Their business is to uplift all humanity. And we think that, oh, they are sitting over there, how can we've got no relationship with them. They've got no relationship with us. They may be doing something over there. How does it affect me? This is what we have to understand. It is very deep. And that is how superficially we will never be able to achieve this bliss. And to achieve, understand that we should, as leaders or servants, take this position that once we chant, everybody is satisfied. And when there is progress, things are moving nicely. And never take the credit. Because they will themselves realize that all these are happening, a fool like me is doing like this. How is it possible? Something superior is helping me. So this is how a person as a devotee of Krishna serves all humanity. Serves all humanity. This is our perfection, really, to be in this bliss. Okay, this is how I conclude. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anyone wants to say anything before we conclude with it? Thank you very much. Okay, Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Word to word synonyms. Translation and purport by Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Chandra Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.